The internet is on fire right now because DaBrat didn't just spill tea, she dumped an entire boiling pot onto the timeline and walked away like nothing happened. In a plot twist so wild it feels illegal to even repeat out loud, DaBrat has officially humiliated Toni Braxton by posting what she claims is undeniable proof of a secret Birdman Tamar Braxton hookup. A hookup that allegedly happened long before Toni ever knew. And the moment those receipts hit social media, the entire Braxton fanbase, the entire Cash Money universe, and every gossip page from here to Mars collectively screamed. This isn't light drama. This isn't casual shade. This is family-ending, career-wrecking, legacy-shattering nuclear tea that has people questioning everything they thought they knew about one of the most polished families in show business. The screenshots, explosive. The timestamps, suspicious. The audio clip DaBrat teased in her IG Live. So messy that multiple lawyers allegedly started making phone calls the second she pressed post. Insiders say Toni Braxton was completely blindsided, that she had no idea this skeleton was still floating around, let alone in the hands of DaBrat, who apparently has been holding on to this evidence for years. Meanwhile, sources close to Tamar claim she is furious, panicking, and ready to scorch earth if anyone tries to twist the narrative. But the real shocker? People are saying DaBrat didn't leak this out of spite. She leaked it as a warning. And once you hear what triggered her to unleash these receipts, your jaw will hit the floor. The second DaBrat hit post, the internet didn't just react, it flatlined. Phones froze. Timelines choked. Group chats exploded into 50 unread messages per minute. It was the kind of leak people swear only happens in fictional soap operas, the kind where careers crumble, families fracture, and reputations evaporate instantly under the weight of receipts too detailed to deny. And yet here it was, happening in real time, detonating across social media like a scandal 5 years too early and 10 times too big. Because DaBrat didn't leak a rumor, she didn't hint, she didn't insinuate, she documented. She came armed with screenshots, timestamps, audio clips, and a smirk so dangerous that fans knew instantly. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. This was a strategic strike, a calculated release designed to break the internet and scorch the earth around the Braxton family name. The receipts she posted weren't blurry. They weren't vague. They weren't open to interpretation. They were explicit messages between Birdman and Tamar Braxton, messages that read less like polite conversation and more like late-night emotional confessions, sprinkled with flirtation no sister would ever want to see. Fans zoomed in, screenshotted, re-uploaded. They dissected everything: the punctuation, the timing, the fact that some messages appeared to overlap with the very period when Toni was publicly gushing about Birdman being her person. And when DaBrat added the caption, "Y'all wanted honesty, so here it go," the world stopped breathing. Within seconds, thousands flooded the comments. "This can't be real. Toni doesn't deserve this. Tamar got some explaining to do." Influencers who usually avoid drama dove headfirst into the flames. Gossip channels scrambled to go live. Twitter Spaces opened with titles like "Somebody check on Toni" and "DaBrat got Bird on a leash." It was absolute anarchy. What made the chaos even worse was that the screenshots didn't look old. The timestamp suggested a lingering familiarity, not fresh but not ancient either. Enough to raise questions, enough to reopen wounds that Toni had long since buried beneath award shows, iconic songs, and an image of elegance built over decades. But the internet has no mercy for elegance. Once the receipts escaped, the truth, or at least the perception of truth, began spiraling at uncontrollable speed. Then came the next leak, a 23-second audio clip DaBrat teased during her live. In it, Birdman can be heard laughing softly, telling Tamar, You know I always messed with you. Don't act brand new." Tamar responded with a giggle. Fans recognized instantly from her reality TV moments. And then, before the clip ends abruptly, she adds a line that destroyed the last remaining thread of plausible deniability. "We said we'd never talk about that again." The timeline imploded. People started connecting dots that no one had ever dared to connect publicly. Old interviews resurfaced. Birdman praising Tamar in ways that now felt suspiciously affectionate. Clips of Tamar brushing off questions about Birdman suddenly sounded less like coincidence and more like strategic evasions. And fans pointed out Toni's body language in certain Braxton family values episodes, moments where she looked uncomfortable whenever Birdman's name came up, moments where Tamar went suspiciously quiet. But then an insider, someone claiming to be part of Toni's glam team, dropped a message that sent the internet spiraling into nuclear meltdown. "Toni ain't shocked, she's embarrassed, there's a difference." That one sentence flipped the narrative instantly. Embarrassed? Why embarrassed? Had she known something? Had she seen something? Had she suspected something but buried it to keep the peace? Blogs ran with theories at lightning speed. Some claimed Toni and Tamar had fought about Birdman years ago behind closed doors. Others insisted Birdman had once confessed his past mistakes to Toni. Still others pointed to Tamar's notoriously fiery personality and argued she may have confessed during a family argument that cameras weren't allowed to film. Meanwhile, Tamar went completely silent. Not a post, not a like, not a comment. Not a denial. And Tamar Braxton doesn't stay silent, which made her silence feel like guilt. But the person who broke silence first wasn't Tamar, it was Birdman. A blurry clip leaked of him arguing with someone on the phone saying, "Who told her to post that? Who told her she could do that?" The fury in his voice wasn't the fury of an innocent man. It was the fury of someone whose skeletons were just dragged into daylight by a person he didn't expect to turn on him. And fans immediately started asking the question no one had dared yet. Why did DaBrat do it? Why now? Why this? Why receipts that could blow apart not one, but two Braxton relationships, a cash money legacy, and decades of industry alliances? That's when DaBrat herself resurfaced, not with another screenshot, not with another clip, but with a chilling line dropped during a late-night Instagram live. "Some people forgot who protected them. I'm reminding them now." That sentence ignited an inferno of conspiracy theories. Protected them from what? Protected who? Protected them when? And who was she warning? Fans began combing through old interviews where DaBrat mentioned the Braxtons. They revisited moments when she defended Toni. They revisited moments when she threw shade Tamar's way. They found clips where DaBrat hinted at industry secrets she was keeping out of respect. Now it was clear that respect was gone. Meanwhile, Toni Braxton's name trended worldwide. Fans flooded her last post with heartbreak, love, anger, sympathy. Some demanded answers, some begged her to stay strong, some said she deserved better. But Toni remained silent, and that silence was deafening. Then a final leak surfaced, one so chaotic it nearly broke every blog at once. A supposed message from someone close to Toni read, "She found out before the public did. That's why DaBrat posted. It wasn't just a leak, it was retaliation." Retaliation? For what? Who betrayed whom? What triggered DaBrat to burn the entire house down? Was Toni involved? Was Tamar? Was Birdman manipulating both sides? Before anyone could piece the puzzle together, another anonymous post appeared, darker than all the others combined. DaBrat didn't just reveal the hookup, she revealed the first secret. The real bomb, that one's still coming. The internet was still choking on DaBrat's first round of receipts when the next wave of chaos hit. But this time, it didn't come from DaBrat. It came from the people around her. People who had been quiet for years. People who had watched the Braxton and Cash Money drama from the sidelines. People who clearly knew the real story behind why DaBrat chose violence after all this time. And when those insiders started talking, the narrative shifted from scandal to full-blown historical rewrite. Because according to one anonymous source who claimed to have been close to Toni during the early Birdman era, the situation was never as simple as fans believed. The source wrote, "Toni didn't just fall for Birdman, she fought for him. She defended him. She trusted him." That line alone cracked open the emotional core of the story. But then the source added a line that triggered the entire meltdown. And Tamar knew that long before she made her move. Those words ricocheted across the internet like a bullet. Overnight, fans went from disbelief to furious speculation. Did Tamar betray Toni? Did Toni find out years ago? Did Birdman confess? And if so, why did the family bury it? Why did Toni stay silent while Tamar carried on publicly like nothing ever happened? That's when a shocking new angle surfaced, one that made sense of DaBrat's rage. An old interview from nearly a decade ago resurfaced, where DaBrat was asked about the Braxtons. She smiled politely, but said one cryptic sentence. "There are some things that ain't my business to say yet." That "yet" hit differently now. Fans realized DaBrat hadn't been blindsided by this scandal, she'd been sitting on it. Watching it, holding it, and waiting. But waiting for what? While the internet spiraled, Tamar's team broke their silence, and it only made things worse. A close friend of Tamar posted a message on X. "Don't let these people twist the narrative. Tamar wasn't the problem." The friend deleted the post seconds later, but screenshots circulated like wildfire. Fans immediately accused Tamar's camp of damage control. Others speculated the message hinted at a much bigger issue, one no one was brave enough to say publicly yet. Meanwhile, Toni Braxton's circle went into lockdown. According to an anonymous stylist, Toni was beyond hurt, angry at how public this became, and asking how many people knew before her. The stylist added one disturbing line: "Toni feels played by someone she trusted." That someone could have been Tamar. It could have been Birdman, it could have been both. But then the story took an even darker turn. A Cash Money producer stepped forward on a burner account, claiming the Birdman Tamar hookup wasn't a one-time slip. It was a recurring situation that allegedly took place during a break Toni and Birdman had years ago. Fans immediately questioned the timeline. Birdman and Toni were rumored to be on and off for years behind the scenes. If the hookup happened during a break, why did it feel like betrayal? Why did DaBrat call it a warning? Why did Toni feel humiliated? Then came the biggest twist of the night. The producer claimed that Toni eventually found out about the hookup, but was convinced to keep quiet for the sake of the family. The family, not her relationship, not her career, the family. That set the internet ablaze. Because if Toni had been protecting Tamar all along, why would DaBrat choose to expose it now? Another insider, one close to DaBrat this time, came forward with the missing piece. They claimed DaBrat had held this secret out of respect for Toni, that Toni asked her to keep quiet, that DaBrat stayed silent for years to protect Toni's dignity. But then the insider added the line that changed the narrative. DaBrat found out Toni wasn't the person who asked her to stay silent. Someone else did. Someone else. Someone who didn't deserve protection. Fans immediately pointed fingers. Tamar, Birdman, a family member, a manager. Who would benefit from keeping DaBrat quiet? But before the internet could settle on a suspect, another massive leak hit, one that created an entirely new direction for the scandal. A behind-the-scenes clip from a never-aired Braxton family values meeting leaked. In the clip, Toni appears frustrated, saying, "Everybody always making me the bad guy when I'm the one cleaning the mess." Tamar responds, "You always think you know everything." Let people live. The tension was explosive, but buried beneath their argument was a sentence Toni muttered under her breath as she walked away. "Just because I forgave you doesn't mean I forgot." Fans replayed that line hundreds of times. Some insisted Toni was talking about Tamar. Others believed she meant the family as a whole. But given the timing of the clip, allegedly filmed during the height of her relationship with Birdman, it became obvious Toni was referencing something deeply personal, something she didn't want aired, something that matched DaBrat's timeline of events. Meanwhile, an anonymous love and hip-hop producer chimed in with a chilling claim. DaBrat didn't expose this because of Toni. She exposed it because somebody tried to threaten her with old information. That revelation flipped the scandal upside down. Had someone tried to blackmail DaBrat? Had someone tried to silence her? Had someone weaponized the Birdman-Tamar receipts to control her? And if so, why? Then came the leak that sent shockwaves through the entire industry. A voice note allegedly recorded during DaBrat's private conversation with her wife. In the clip, DaBrat says, "They thought they could use Toni's business to come for me. Nah, if you try me, you better be ready for the fallout." Fans exploded. Who tried DaBrat? Who used Toni's pain as leverage? Why was DaBrat acting like she was retaliating against someone, not just exposing T? Suddenly, the narrative wasn't DaBrat humiliates Toni. It became DaBrat was attacked, and she used the truth as a weapon. But the most terrifying leak came last, a text exchange allegedly between two insiders in the Braxton circle. The first message read, "We have to get ahead of this before she responds." The reply, "She won't. She knows DaBrat posted for a reason." Then the last message, the one that made fans gasp. "Toni's not the one DaBrat is warning. Tamar isn't either. She's warning him." Him, not Toni, not Tamar, not the public. Him. Fans immediately assumed it had to be Birdman, but before they could settle on that, the account that leaked the messages vanished, disappeared, gone. And the internet was left with one earth-shattering mystery. Who is the man DaBrat was really warning? And why is he terrified of what comes next? The moment fans realized DaBrat wasn't warning Toni, wasn't warning Tamar, but was warning a man, the entire internet flipped upside down. Suddenly, everything about this scandal, the timing, the tone, the receipts, the calculated precision, felt different. This wasn't petty drama. This wasn't a sisterly feud. This wasn't old T. DaBrat just felt like tossing out on a Tuesday. This was a message, sharp as blade, and twice as dangerous, aimed directly at someone who clearly thought DaBrat wouldn't dare speak. And that's when the next leak detonated. A journalist who'd been quietly covering cash money-related stories for years posted a cryptic tweet. "Everyone focusing on Birdman needs to look higher up. DaBrat's warning wasn't for him." Fans froze. Higher up? In the music industry? The cash money universe? The Braxton family tree? What man could possibly be above Birdman in this situation? Nobody had time to theorize, because seconds later the journalist deleted the tweet, then deactivated their account. And fans took that vanishing act as confirmation. Whoever DaBrat was warning, people were afraid to even name. Then came the next wave of chaos. A leaked text from someone claiming to be a former assistant in Birdman's circle. The message read, "Birdman ain't the one scared. He's mad, but he ain't scared. The one panicking is the man who told Tamar to keep her mouth shut years ago." That text sent shockwaves through every corner of social media, because now the narrative wasn't just about a hookup. It was about a cover-up. Someone had instructed Tamar to bury the truth, not for Toni's sake, not for Birdman's sake, but for his. And fans demanded to know who the hell could control Tamar Braxton. More leaks trickled in, small at first, then building into an avalanche of chaos. A former Braxton Family Values producer posted anonymously, "There was a man Tamar was scared of disappointing, not Birdman, not Vince, someone else." The producer added, Tamar always got loud about everything except him. That line echoed everywhere except him. Who was the man Tamar, the queen of clapbacks, the most unfiltered reality star of the last decade, was afraid to cross? As fans scrambled to piece the puzzle together, DaBrat decided to pour gasoline on the mess. She went live again, briefly, standing in a dimly lit studio. No smiles, no jokes, no theatrics, only one sentence. "You're all asking the wrong questions. This ain't about Toni or Tay. This about the one who told me to mind my business." Then she ended the live. Fans lost their minds. Who told DaBrat to mind her business? Who tried to silence her? Who was powerful enough to attempt controlling her? The internet started combing through old footage, past interviews, behind-the-scenes rumors, trying to find any moment Tamar or Toni referenced a mysterious he. And that's when an old Braxton family values clip resurfaced, one that had gone unnoticed for years. In the scene, Tamar is mid-rant with Tracy and Tawanda when Tawanda says, "You better be careful, he said not to bring that up anymore." Tamar instantly quiets down, looks off camera and says, "I said okay, dang." At the time, fans assumed he referred to her ex-husband Vince. But now that clip felt like a hint dropped years before anyone understood its significance, especially when Vince's old assistant leaked a statement hours later. That wasn't about Vince, that was about someone else she worked with at the time. The internet spiraled. Someone she worked with at the time, a producer, a manager, a label figure, someone associated with Birdman, someone connected to the Braxton empire. Every theory felt possible, and every theory felt dangerous. Then the darkest leak hit yet. A voice note from someone connected to DaBrat's camp whispered, "He tried to threaten her with stuff from her past. She warned him that if he ever tried that again, she'd drop everything she knew about the Braxton situation." Fans replayed that clip on loop, analyzing every word. He threatened her. She warned him. He pushed again. She posted the receipts. Meaning this wasn't about Toni at all. It was about DaBrat being pushed into war and using the Birdman Tamar secret as ammunition. But the question now was, why was a man threatening DaBrat? What did he have to gain by silencing her? And why was the Braxton secret his weapon of choice? As fans demanded answers, the next leak hit. The first one to actually name a piece of the puzzle. A screenshot allegedly from a private group chat between multiple industry insiders. Most of the names were blurred, except one. A producer named Marcus Addington, a man who worked closely with Cash Money, a man who worked behind the scenes on Braxton Family Values, a man who had been rumored for years to manipulate storylines, control access, push narratives, and manage the cast in ways that blurred the lines between guidance and intimidation. And under his name in the chat was one message: DaBrat thinks she's untouchable. She needs to remember who she's dealing with. Fans erupted. He needs to remember who he's dealing with. That was the tone of a man who underestimated DaBrat and paid the price. The next line in the chat wasn't any better. "Delete anything connecting me to the old situation." The old situation. Fans suddenly understood. This wasn't about Birdman. This wasn't about Tamar. This wasn't about Toni. This was about whatever Marcus Addington was hiding, and how the Birdman Tamar hookup was part of the cover-up. More insiders chimed in anonymously over the next hour. One wrote, "Marcus told Tamar to deny everything. He said it would destroy the brand." Another wrote, "He told Toni he'd handle it. Translation, bury it." Another claimed, DaBrat warned him not to pull her into his lies again. And then came the voice note that shattered the internet. A distorted recording of Marcus Addington yelling at someone, presumably DaBrat, saying, "You think posting that changes anything? You think people will believe you over me? You don't know what I have on you. Stay out of my affairs or I'll ruin you." But DaBrat's voice came through loud and clear. Touch me again and I'll expose everything. The clip cut. Fans' jaws dropped. This wasn't petty beef. This wasn't revenge. This was survival. And DaBrat knew exactly who her real target was. Then, as if summoned, a final anonymous message appeared. Toni wasn't the one betrayed. Tamar wasn't the one exposed. Birdman wasn't the one embarrassed. DaBrat wasn't the one threatened. The real victim is the one who still doesn't know the full truth. Before anyone could guess who that meant, a second message appeared. And the truth DaBrat's holding. It's not about Toni, Tamar, or Birdman. It's about the deal Marcus made behind all their backs. And with that, the account vanished into thin air. The internet froze, because suddenly the scandal wasn't about woe slept together. It was about, what deal did Marcus make? Why did he silence Tamar? What was he hiding from Toni? And what does DaBrat know that could destroy the entire industry when she finally speaks? If you're still here right now, then you already understand this wasn't just gossip. This wasn't just a messy hookup scandal. What DaBrat unleashed wasn't tea. It was a targeted warning shot in a war the public didn't even know was happening. And the more this story unravels, the clearer it becomes that Toni isn't the real target. Tamar isn't the real instigator. Birdman isn't the real shock factor. And DaBrat isn't the villain or the hero. She's the whistleblower, the detonator, the only one bold enough to pull the pin on secrets that were never supposed to see daylight. And if you walk away now, you're going to miss the moment everything collapses. Because the next leak won't be screenshots, it won't be blurred audio, it won't be whispers from insiders hiding behind burner accounts. The next leak, the one DaBrat is clearly holding back, is going to expose the man behind the manipulation, the silencing, the threats, the cover-ups, the entire secret deal that could rewrite the history of the Braxtons, Cash Money, and the reality TV machine that's been feeding off this drama for years. You do not want to be the last one to hear it, so hit like right now, so this investigation keeps pushing through every corner of the internet they can't censor. Drop a comment to keep the conversation alive and force this truth into the front of the algorithm. And subscribe immediately, because the next chapter is coming fast. And when DaBrat finally reveals the real secret, you need to be front row ready. Stay locked in. The truth is only getting louder.